Yes, it is a Mk.1 Ford Focus. And you're probably wondering, why have I got a Mk.1 Ford Focus here? It's not my kind of thing, is it? No, but there's one good reason. These things used to be absolutely everywhere. I mean, you know, you trip over them everywhere you go. But now, suddenly, they're not. Especially in 3-door guys. There's loads of Mark IIs about, but Mark Is, no, they've just disappeared. That makes this car just about to go into the retro stage. Although it doesn't look it, does it? You'll most definitely be aware that the Focus replaced the incredibly old Escort. What a terrible, aging old piece of rickety junk that was. Yet it was very, very popular. So when this came along, it was like something from space. Assuming that aliens are doing something rather interesting, that works. But it's true. The new age design was something very, very refreshing in the late 90s. And it was a radical change from the car before it. Instead of rounded bits everywhere, it's all triangles and pointed bits, even the indicator. Not the mirror there for some reason. They missed a trick there, but they did on the back end. This triangular light cluster. I thought, oh, we best put another triangle there and have all these kind of familiar angles everywhere, so it's all very, very sharp. And then these lines over like this, that was, I believe, the new age design, because it went on to appear in the Mondeo as well. And it was such a different look that it doesn't actually look that old even now. And this is one of the newest ones on a 54 plate, but it got replaced by the Mark II Focus, which was, well, not really radical any longer. There's quite a lot of this kind of thing going on as well, where it seems to be even more, mind you, this is a facelift. Yeah, the original one didn't have that bit, right? So it appears that they were influenced by their own design. The new age design obviously wasn't new age enough to start with, so they did that. Shall we open the door? Yeah, let's open the door. That door shut sounds a bit like a Volkswagen Golf, but then everyone was trying to be the Volkswagen Golf at the time. All of that angular stuff carried on the inside. It really was somebody with a pencil doing all these sweeping lines, and they decided that they should keep the whole lot by the looks of it. But more triangles, more kind of triangles with nice rounded bottoms on them, and then everything has some sort of edge, some sort of triangle edge somewhere as part of the design, except for the air vents. Look at these air vents. They don't fit. I mean, they do look like they should be part of it, but why aren't they triangles? Did they run out of triangles? Is it because there was a Spanish triangle embargo at the time? Well, further down, well, that's a triangle. Hazard switches off to now. The controls, that feels better than an Escort. That feels better than an Escort. That feels better than an Escort. As you'd expect all of these things to feel better than the car it replaced. The buttons are, well, they're okay. And this door card with the other slightly angular bits on there, it does feel typically Ford, I suppose. It's just a bit, oh, look at that movement before it does anything. What you really want is for you to pull it about there, and then it releases with a nice spring rather than a snag at the end. Well, on that subject, what about build quality? How does it feel in here? I'm expecting it to be a bit like that, but well, it's a bit bouncy, but it's a bit better than I was expecting as well. Chris, it does work. It's a good sized boot, and not only is it a good size, but it's very deep as well. It wasn't so hot today, I'd be climbing in there. Imagine, it might be cooler inside the boot than it is out here. But whatever the case, yeah, it's a good sized boot. Hang on. The edges on the boot here has got this kind of almost like it's a jigsaw being put together, which is kind of interesting. Remember that people do sit in the back, so I'm sat in the back of this one. And if I pull this seat forward, that's an adequate amount of room. In fact, obviously this being a family car that needed to tick all the boxes, it had to have an adequate amount of room in the back. And this is, it's fine. Look, I've even got some headroom. There's a curiously large gap between the top and the bottom part of the seat. You can certainly lose a lot of coins through there. Just looking for the bonnet catch, but I can't seem to find it. But then I remembered, it's going to be this, isn't it? Surprisingly enough, you find an engine under here, and it's a 1.8. But they did other engines as well, in case you didn't realise. It's true, they did a 1.6. They might have even done a 1.4 and a 1.8, and then they did a 2 litre as well. And then they did a diesel, but who knows what size that was. And then I've got a feeling they did another one. But that's a 1.8. And that means what other engines they did is kind of irrelevant, because this is this one. And this is the one that's here. And this is the one I'm going to have a little drive in. And have a little drive is what is coming next. Okay. Here we are, driving the Mk.1 Focus 1.8 with about 113 brake horsepower, and it's actually very smooth. I knew it was going to be quite good because I have driven an Escort, and at the time it was not great, but not quite as bad as some other cars. Yeah, the engine sort of is quite responsive, and the steering is good, and it's kind of what you expect. I mean, remember that this car replaced the Escort, not, you know, a Ferrari. It was basically a family car. The strangest thing happened. Coming the other way then was another Focus Mk.1, and that's odd because I've not seen one for about 4 days, which is partly the reason why I'm driving this now, because it's become a bit of an unusual car to see on the roads. This car is a particularly well looked after model, really. The engine's nice and smooth, there's no knocks or rattles anywhere on the suspension, and it just drives very nicely. The steering wheel feels a bit big though. Actually, the steering wheel feels huge for some reason, and I'm sure it will lower down, but I'm not going to be messing around while I'm driving. It's bad enough talking to you while I'm driving. See how it picks up. That's third gear. Third gear is the important one, and it picks up quite nicely. Now, this car was very well known for being very good at handling. So what you need for that is lots and lots of lovely country roads to be a bit silly on. Or a roundabout. Push it ever so slightly on this roundabout here. Nothing too bad. Here we go, roundabouts. Wow. There's a bit of tyre squeal there, but clinging on very nicely. Very nicely indeed. Where's my cigar? There are no surprises really with this car. It is kind of exactly what I was expecting. It's reasonably nippy, it's quite clingy, and it's very easy to drive. Ease to drive is the key word here. This was the most popular seller of the time, and it replaced a car that was the most popular seller, so they had to get it right. And with all that messing around with the exterior, making it look like a completely different car altogether, the really important thing is that it was easy to drive, and it is, as I've said, easy to drive. Imagine most cars were at the time, I suppose. Amongst many cars, I've never driven one of these before, never driven a Focus. But the surprising thing is I wasn't actually surprised by any of this car. It seemed to be exactly what I expected, which is, well, good. Yeah, good. The styling is subjective, I suppose. For somebody who likes Rovers, it does look a bit too angular, but I do quite like it. But the question is, would I have one of these? No. See ya.